Hello everyone, it's Benny, and in this video we're going to be adding doors to our Wolfenstein 3D clone. So, of course, this is all going to start with a door class. So, I'm just going to go ahead and create a new class, call it, I don't know, door, and that's good. Now, what does my door need? First off, need some transformation, you know, put it proper size, proper rotation, proper position, you know, all that stuff. So, private transform. And that's also going to have a constructor, of course, so public door. It's going to take in some transform, and it's going to be everything for now. And there's actually one more thing I want up here, but it's not going to be an instance variable. It's going to be a private static mesh called, actually I'll just call it mesh because, well, I don't need to specify it's a door mesh. If it's in the door class, it's, well, the mesh for the door, so. But here's the thing. The reason I want this static is because all doors are going to use the same mesh. I'm not going to have a different mesh for every single door. Every single door is going to be, you know, the same sort of box shape. So that's why I'm having, you know, one static mesh for all the doors. And what I'm going to want to do here is I'm going to check in the constructor if mesh is null. And if it is, then I'm going to create it. But first, I'm going to say, of course, this.transform equals transform. So we're going to do stuff here, so just leave a note, to do create door mesh. And excellent, that's the basis of our door class. Now, as for what comes next, I'm going to have a public void update, so I can do some updating here, and a public void render to, of course, well, draw it. Now, here's the thing. When we're rendering, of course, we're going to have to draw the mesh, but that's not the whole story. We're also going to need to do bind/update the shader. And, well, we don't really have a good way to do that. We don't know what shader is going to be used. We don't really know, you know, how we're going to get that and bind it and update it. And also, you might have noticed these update and render methods are really starting to get a little bit familiar. You know, they might be the sort of thing that everything in the game's going to have. So, that brings us to the next thing I'm going to add to the notes. Game object class. It's just going to be some class which manages all of these things that everything has in common, such as managing the shader, figuring out, okay, what shader do we bind, and draw the mesh with that. The things that figure out, hey, everything has a transform. And the things that say, okay, everything's going to have update and render methods. You know, all the stuff that's common between all game objects. In the meantime, though, I'm going to go to our game class, and let's see. I'm just going to try and find where we actually have the shader. It's in level, okay. So, in the level class, is the shader an instance variable? Yes. Okay. So, I'm just going to go above, why not? I'll go below the private methods. Just have public shader get shader. It's going to return the shader. So now that we actually have the shader, then, and we can get the level from the game class, in my door class, I'm just going to say shader equals game.getLevel.getShader. And now we have the shader that we can bind and update. It's definitely not the best solution to it, but it's going to work for our temporary purposes. So, yeah, like I said, I'm not going to be doing things the prettiest way in this video, or in this series, but hey, this shows off the limitations of our engine. We don't have a good way of doing this. So, we'll matrix transform.get transformation, and projection matrix is transform.get. There we go. And we still need a material. So, let's see, how should I do this? I think I'm just going to say, no, okay. I'm going to have material be an instance variable because, you know, it's probably the best practice. So, material is going to be an instance variable, and we're going to have to initialize that somehow. So I'm going to take it as a parameter. It's going to have some material, and this dot material equals material. So there we go. We have our transform, we have material, we have all the stuff we need to set up some door. Now, to actually create the mesh, I'm going to start with my vertex array of vertices, and it's going to be a new vertex array taking in some stuff. I don't know what that is yet, but it's going to be some stuff. So I'm going to start with a new vertex, which takes in, of course, new vector 3f, and some new vector 2f. For now, I'm just going to put all the texture coordinates as 0, 0, and we're just going to have a giant gray blob in the middle of our, you know, where the door's supposed to be, but that's okay. So I'm going to start off, yeah. So I'm going to start off doing this sort of vertically, so it's going to be, what I mean by vertically is I'm just going to start with like the vertical part of the door, where start at the bottom and go up. So, thanks for correcting my spacing, which didn't need to be corrected. And there. So, in other words, something like this. I'm going to start at 0, 0, so wherever it starts. Then I'm going to go up 1 in the y-axis. I'm going to go over an x and y-axis. So essentially going to start like this. This, up, and around. And then I'm just going to need my, and that's going to be my temporary door. It's just going to be a plane right now, but that's fine. Also going to have some int array, just called indices, which equals a new int array, which is going to take in some values. And what values should I put in? So let's see, I want to start off at the beginning, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, 0, 1, 2. And if this doesn't work, I'll just figure it out from there. So, and then 0, 2, 3. Yeah, it should work, so why not? And finally, mesh equals new mesh taking in vertices and indices. And that should be it. Okay. So with that, we have our very temporary door mesh. And on our level, I'm just going to very temporarily, because again, just want to get things working right now, have some, I'll put a little warning here, warning, temp, variable, and it's going to be a private door. And just say, door's a new door taking in, oh, I don't know, it's going to take in, we should have some texture, shouldn't we? We have our material, so I'll just pass in new transform, so just nothing. Actually, alright, the level doesn't have access to the player. I was going to try placing it the same place the player starts, so I always know exactly where it is, but maybe I should do that. Anyways, I'm off in thought right now for some reason, so I just have a new transform and player. So, player. I want it at the player position, so yeah. I'm going to hack my way around this problem, because it's temporary, so, and again, it shouldn't need that, but it does for some reason. And what happened to my game class? There we go. So there, taking in new vectors, 3f, there, nothing, and new vector 3f, all ones, because there. And so that's going to be a rotation, no rotation, and normal scale. And it's still giving me an error. Interesting. I'm pretty sure... No? There's no constructor for okay. Once again, need better constructors. So, okay. So, transform, temp, transform, okay. There's a new transform. And temp transform dot set position. I guess this will work. Oh, set translation. That's kind of annoying. So, because you know, you're thinking in terms of position, not translation. So maybe change transforms. You know what? How about this? Just make all positioning names position. Because I did that in camera too. I called it like pos or something. So yeah, just, well, more generally, just make naming more consistent. There we go. Anyways, back to what I was originally going to do. So in game, want this, and come on, there we go. There, finally. Now I can set this to temp transform, and finally I have that set up. So here I can just do door.update and door.render. So let's run. So, that's not quite what I had in mind. So, I wonder. Actually, I think I know why that is. Because the door needs to start at 0, not at some decimal number. So, let's try it at 0 now. Okay, much better. So now our door starts at 0. And now we can work on the rest of the parameters for the door. Okay, so I guess I'll just copy this, because I'm going to do everything in quads here. Add a comma, and there. Now, since I know this is going to be going out on the z-axis instead of the x-axis, I guess I'll do that. I could do 1, 1, but that's just going to make it a... Actually, how about this? Private static const... Right, this isn't... this isn't C. Private static final int, no, float, and this will be just, is door size a good name? Okay, how about this? Door length, which is going to equal 1, and I'm going to have a const called door width, which is going to equal 0.125. And this should help me keep everything straight, so... And why not? I'll have door height, just so you can make it whatever height you want. It doesn't have to be a square. And door height, which I'm also going to have at 1. So, door height here, door length in x, and door width in z. So, and that destroys the formatting, but... Here, private static final float door start, which I'm going to just say is 0, just so everything's nice and aligned. And yeah, there's definitely better ways to do this. So maybe we should add that to our list of things. Just eventually make easier way to generate mesh. So, you know, just so we don't have to go through this big giant process every time. I don't know if there will be an easier way, but if there can be, it's definitely something to look out for. So, got our new face. And what do I want this time? Oh, I don't know. Well, I guess 4, 5, 6, and 4, 6, 7. Seems to be the trend, so let's run. Okay. Needs to be reversed. Okay. So I guess I'll do 6 and 7 and just replace this with 4. Just reverse the draw order, and it should draw properly now. There we go. So we're getting sort of a door shape here. And actually, I completely overlooked that, and that was probably the easiest thing to do, which is just, hey, I need one on the other side, so yeah, I'm just gonna comma and copy this, do things the lazy way, and here, rather than starting at door start on Z, I'm gonna start at door width. So, there. Yeah, it's kind of redundant to have it door length, width, and height, so yeah, I'm just gonna have Alt-Shift-R, length, Alt-Shift-R, height. Yeah. It's just... I might change it for start, but then again, start's just not a good idea in the first place, so not sure if I should bother. But anyways, so that's at width, that's starting at start, so rather than starting at start, let's start at length for the next one. And oh boy, the faces. Actually, I should probably just put someone there, so no. Thank you very much for destroying my indentation. And here, so let's see. So if the order thing holds up. This should start at 8, so 8, 9, 10, and 8, 10, 11. And this, thank you very much for screwing up the order. And this should be at, I'll just do it correctly because that's easier. 12, 13, 14. And then 12, 14, 15, except reversed. So this will be 14, this will be 15, and this will be 12 and 12. Will this work? Let's find out. Not quite. Okay. It was worth a shot. So go back to how I had this originally and reverse these. It's 10, 11, 8, and 8. And now those faces should be drawing in the proper order. Excellent! You could add faces for a top and bottom, but since I personally am not planning on doing it, I'm going to take the lazy way out and just, you know, thank you, close button, and just not do it. If you are planning on having doors that are shorter than the level height, you can go ahead and do that. So I'm going to do the lazy way. So, for example, to do add top/bottom face if, actually it should be a note rather than a to-do, so note. Add top and bottom face if you set length, or height, less than level height. Something like this. You know, I'll just say, note, you may need to add top/bottom face depending on how you do this. There. Depending on how you set these variables. There we go. Whew. So now we've got a door generated. Now we just need texture coordinates. Now, I'm going to do things the exceedingly lazy way, and I'm just going to copy my texture coordinates that I have from the example one I had. So this one started off as 0.5 and 1, because, you know, I was just playing with this stuff until I got something that worked, and yeah. So this should be 0.5, 0.75. And I'm going to change these to constants, don't worry. 0.75, 0.75, and 0.75, 1. Actually, you know what? Maybe I won't change these to constants. Maybe I'll just use bad practices all around. So excellent, that gives me proper door right there. And yeah, this was 0.731, interesting. 0.73, 0.75. 0.75, 0.75, and 0.75, 1. And again, sorry you have to copy all this, but I don't know a better way of showing this to you. And I certainly don't want to spend a bunch of video time typing out a bunch of nonsensical numbers. So here are the numbers, you can copy them, or you can try inventing your own if you're not using the same texture as me. Again, this video is going to have a lot of bad code, so actually I should add that after I finish copying all these texture coordinates. Add that to the list. Have a nice way of generating texture coordinates, because, yeah, this is kind of ridiculous. And you know, maybe it won't be a low-level code that like goes into the mesh class, but at least whenever we get like actual level editing and such. So eventually make easy way of generating texture coordinates. Again, doesn't have to be like necessarily part of the mesh class or something, but eventually if we have like a level editor or something, there should be a good way of setting texture coordinates for some mesh. So anyways, with all that out of the way, we now have our fully textured door. No collision, but hey, it's a door. And that's a pretty big step. We've got actual 3D door. And one last thing I want to do. I want to go to my level, and I want to add the door to our collision check right here. So, I'm going to say collision vector equals collision vector.mul, and it's going to have a rect collide in here. It's going to be pretty much like this, except rather than blocks, we're going to pass in the door. So, Oh dear. So, old pos 2, new pos 2, object size, I believe is the player size. Yeah, okay. And block size. That should be replaced by the door's position, so door dot get, I need to transform, so I'm going to go to door. Yeah, move over. Gonna have public void get transform, which is not going to be void, it's going to return a transform. That's going to return transform. There. Door dot get, there we go. Get transform dot get position. There's, oh right, get translation. Again, gotta fix that mentality. And here's where things get interesting, because I don't want the full translation, that's a vector 3, and I actually want a vector 2, so what it would be nice if I had something like swizzling in GLSL, where I could just do something like get xz, but, well, I can't. So, let's add that here. So, how about this? Vectors swizzling. So we can do something like that we do in GLSL. It'd be kind of nice. So, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say vector 2f door pos, and I'm going to have some vector 3f door pos 3, which equals there. And I'm going to set door pos, I'm going to call it door pos there. 2f and 3f and 2f, that should indicate what type of vector it is, equals new vector 2f of door pos 3f dot get x, comma door pos 3f dot get z. And that gets us a position. As for size, we need to calculate the door's size. The easiest way to do this at the moment is to just make these variables public. And size. I'm pretty sure I want a new vector 2f of... Actually, you know, I'll just make that up here. Vector 2f door size equals... It's going to equal new vector 2f of door dot length, comma door dot width. Will this work? Hopefully. They're on XZ planes, so they should be right, but you never know. And I believe that should append that to our collision detection system. So let's not run, because our doors right now is at the position of the player. Let's move this a bit, I don't know. 8, 8. That might put it in the middle of a wall. No? And, hey, we can collide with the door. I still feel like the player's moving a little bit insanely fast, but that's okay. I actually kind of prefer that. So, hey, yeah, we can collide with the door. Our rect collide method is scaling outstandingly. So, I'm going to go ahead and call the video here. And in the next video, we're going to figure out how to place doors throughout our level, so I can put a door, I don't know, in this hallway if I wanted. And we're also going to talk about opening doors and having multiple doors, rather than just our sort of temporary door that we have for some odd reason. And yeah, so, thank you, hope you enjoyed, hope you learned, and see you next time.